Hello everyone to Zandvoort. It's the 5th race weekend of the DTM season 2018 and we're excited to be here because this truly is a beautiful racetrack embedded into the dunes right near the ocean, and the sun is shining, so we're absolutely excited to be here. And I'm sure this man over here is excited too, because Gary Paffett, you're starting in pole position, so for you is a perfect qualifying. But let me just ask one thing. Pascal Wehrlein was complaining a little bit that you're in pole and he's only P2 because apparently you were blocking him. What's up with that?
No, I mean, it's difficult when you're trying to find the space on the outlap, and just on the outlap, we were quite close to each other, and I think he felt I compromised his preparation a bit, but we're good. We spoke to each other about it, and it's all good. So we're both on the front row, which is an amazing job for our team. We share a garage, and we're sharing the front row now, so I think we're really happy to be on the front row and looking forward to the race, so it's all good.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. We're looking forward to it as well. And now here's the commentator. Best of luck, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck to Gary Paffett, the British star then, who's put it on pole position for this race here at Zandvoort in the sand dunes. DTM, welcome, hello. And wow, what a race we have in prospect in utterly glorious weather conditions. 55 minutes plus 1 lap, and it's been a real Mercedes fest in qualifying, with Gary Paffett, as he said there, occupying the front row with Pascal Wehrlein. Then it's Paul de Resta and Lucas Auer on the second row of the grid before we find Timo Glock, the best of the BMW drivers, sharing row 3 of the grid with Marco Wittmann. Then the best of the Audis is the local boy, Robin Frijns. He goes from P7 with Nico Muller alongside him for Audi as well. So as you can see, thousands of spectators have packed their way into this Zandvoort circuit to get their best vantage point, whether that be for the race action or the sun. They are here and they will enjoy what is about to unfold when the green flag or the lights go out and the cars start racing. So we reach virtually the midpoint of the season here with Brands Hatch in the UK, Misano, Hungaroring, Spielberg and Hockenheim still to come. So still an awful lot to play for, but Gary Paffett confirming his position at the top of the points with that additional points that he scored from qualifying, of course. Points in the top 3 positions in qualifying. P3 gets you 1 point, P2 in qualifying gets you 2 points, and of course, P1 in qualifying banks you 3 points. So a very good job done in qualifying, particularly for the brand with the 3-pointed star, Mercedes-Benz, because they lock out the first 2 rows of the grid. Uli Fritz, therefore, must be very happy.
And now I'm here with Uli Fritz. Uli, it's almost halftime and 2 Mercedes are battling for championship, so I guess you can't complain how the season is going at the moment.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's great to see those guys up there in front, but as you said, it's not even a half of the season, and there's a long way to go. So yeah, we try to push and keep what we keep doing.
And today, I mean, you've got 4 Mercedes in the first 4 places, so it's looking good for the race as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen a few other races, especially the last 2 in Norris Ring and Budapest, where you clearly could see that starting in P1 to P5 or P6 is not guaranteeing a victory. So we need to keep our head down and try to make the best out of it. I think the guys in the back, especially Timo and Marco, will be quick, and it will be down to strategy in the end.
Anything is possible in the DTM, as we know. So best of luck for the race. Thank you very much, Uli Fritz, and back to the commentator.
Yeah, nice to see him smiling, isn't it, Uli Fritz? And why would he not? You know, Paffett, Wehrlein, de Resta and Auer. There is the local boy then. No, it isn't. It's Loic Duval. I beg your pardon. I thought we were going to Robin Frijns. But Loic Duval and Jamie Green there, muscling in on the camera. And Loic Duval, who incidentally still holds the DTM lap record for Zandvoort. It was set last year. 1:29.168 as we look at rookie into the DTM for BMW, Joel Eriksson, looking cool and commanding down there under the brolly. His qualifying wasn't perhaps where he would like it to be, because he is going from P15. Daniel Juncker-Deyer, who in one of the FP sessions kicked up some gravel and ended up the teams having to vacuum the car because of all the gravel that was caught underneath it. But he will be hoping for better luck during the course of the race. What can BMW do? Well, 55 minutes plus 1 lap is going to reveal all as we look at Philipp Eng, one of the BMW drivers. But Timo Glock was the best of the BMWs, and he'll be going from P5.
And I'm here with the fastest BMW driver, Timo Glock. But being the fastest from BMW still means you've got a wall of Mercedes-Benz in front of you, and you've got Marco Wittmann behind you, who will also be pushing really hard. So what's your gut feeling for the race? It's going to be tough to go all the way in the front.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, against, as you said, the Mercedes wall up front, it's not easy. They're looking strong since the beginning of the season, and they just manage every time to get 3-4 cars in the top 5. And it's going to be hard for me and Marco. I think we need to work together a bit to put them under pressure, and that needs to be the plan from us.
So hopefully you have a really good strategy?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, first of all, we need to have a good start, a good first lap, and then need to see what we can do strategy-wise to put them under pressure.
Right, you do that. Thank you so much, Timo Glock, and back to you.
Thanks very much. So Timo all smiles then. Will he be at the end of 55 minutes plus 1 lap? Here comes the grid for race number 9 then. Gary Paffett and Pascal Wehrlein locking out the front row for Mercedes-Benz. With a similar story for row 2. It's Paul di Resta and Lucas Auer. Then we find Timo Glock, who we've just spoken to, the best of the BMW drivers, with Marco Wittmann, former DTM champion, alongside him. Then it's Robin Frijns, the local boy, going from P7, best of the Audis, and Nico Muller is going from P8. Rene Rast, current DTM champion, what can he do from P9? Augusto Farfus, the BMW star, is alongside him for P10. Then it's Mike Rockenfeller and Bruno Spengler on the 6th row of the grid. To the 7th row, where we find Philipp Eng and Daniel Juncadella, the Spanish driver, going from P14. Joel Eriksson and Loic Duval are P15 and P16. And bringing up the rear of the grid, it's Jamie Green and Edoardo Mortara. So that's the way the grid looks for the race to come, as we look at Augusto Farfus then. P10 on the grid, his quality time a 1:31.469. It means a 5th row start for Augusto Farfus, the Brazilian star, who again this season has only broken into the top 10 in terms of results once, taking a P7. Rene Rast then, who is the current DTM champion, he's 1:31.461, then giving him P9 on the grid, so 1 place ahead of that Augusto Farfus car, and Rene Rast will be hoping for good things and a good strategy as well. Nico Muller, whose qualifying performances during the course of the season have been outstanding, and he's often been the best Audi driver, and today he was second best Audi driver, just pipped by this man, Robin Frijns then. The local driver who was praying for rain during the course of the week. Unfortunately, like most of Europe, it didn't come, and we have had virtually unbroken sunshine, and therefore Robin Frijns does not get his weather wish for this afternoon's race. Marco Wittmann's 1:31.337 gives him P6 on the grid. He's not the best of the BMWs. We've just heard from the best BMW driver, Timo Glock. But again, Marco Wittmann, he'll come here buoyed with confidence, having taken a P3 and, of course, a race win at his home race at the Norris Ring. Timo Glock. One of his favourite expressions was when referring to him and Gary Paffett as being the old mans of DTM. And, of course, in commanding positions with regards to points. So, of course, with old mans comes heaps of experience, and Timo Glock has bucketfuls of it. Lucas Auer, then, the young Austrian driver, is P4 on the grid. He goes on the 2nd row, and alongside him will be the British Mercedes-Benz driver, Paul di Resta. Interesting grid here, where pole position means that you're actually on the outside as you head into turn number 1, that Tarzan turn, which is slightly banked, and we can see there Paul di Resta. And while we have a moment in hand, delighted to welcome alongside me top racing star from Audi TT Cup to GT4, karting before it, Milen Doncha, local boy, welcome.
Thank you.
Most noticeable not only because of your racing success, but probably having the best voice of any racing driver I've ever met.
Yeah, it's quite heavy for some people, but you get used to it after a while.
Here then the team standings then, and these are the team's standings. Bear in mind The team standings we're looking at, not the drivers' points, but Mercedes-Benz in quite a commanding position at the moment, as you can see, on 165 points. BMW 145. Great heli shot of this Zandvoort circuit. We'll talk more with Milen about this in just a few moments' time. Welcome to Zandvoort. 16,900 residents, this dune circuit that's held 20 DTM races since 2001. The victory total, as you can see, favours Audi, who have had 10, BMW, who have had 4. And it's a beautiful area of the Netherlands, and one that always attracts a fantastic and very, very enthusiastic crowd. And the evenings are not bad after racing as well. Gives us a great opportunity. Here comes the grid then. Gary Paffett, Pascal Wehrlein, Paul de Resta, Lucas Auer, Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann then. So a Mercedes fest on the front 2 rows before we saw the best of the BMWs then that occupy row 3 of the grid. Then the best of the Audis and the rest of the grid will come up on screen. Let's go back to Milen Doncha, who we were talking to, a former karting star, former Audi star in terms of the TT Cup, and now racing in GT4. I must say, incidentally, congratulations on your first pole position in Italy, in Misano, where we go with DTM shortly.
That's correct. Yeah, it's an amazing track, Misano. Yeah, we're here at Zandvoort with the beautiful, beautiful Zandvoort in the dunes, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to the race.
This is called an old school circuit, Milen. You
Yeah,
know,
it
because
is.
if you get bitten here, it hurts, doesn't it? You know, there's not acres of tarmac runoff area. But it's also what amazes me as we look at Pascal Wehrlein is that this particular circuit, despite its 4.3 kilometre length, and the fact that it's got not these runoff areas, it's a blooming difficult circuit on which to overtake, isn't it?
It's really difficult. It's a really quick track with a lot of attitude, and I think if you make a mistake, you make a big mistake, and you're on the outside and probably in the wall almost. It's almost like a street circuit.
It is almost like a street circuit. You're absolutely right. And, you know, if it's not the barriers, it's the gravel that's going to hurt you. Now, something that a lot of people say is that the fact, because it is so close to the coast and it's carved out of these sand dunes, it's always quite windy here. And therefore the sand is always on the circuit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a desert almost. When there's too much wind, it's like on rain, and it's really difficult. Now it's quite nice weather. We got lovely weather in the Netherlands, and there's not too much wind. But normally the wind is for sure a factor of driving, and it's quite difficult.
Now you're a young racing driver yourself, but of course you're looking at contemporaries here that are racing in DTM. But not only are you a young driver, but you and your brother Indy that race as well. You're actually helping other young drivers as well, because you've built this karting enterprise, haven't you, to try and bring forward the next batch of talent?
Yeah, we with my brother I have a go-kart track in Lelystad, and we got a lot of young guns going for the DTM and for the F1.
Yes,
they all want to be Max Verstappen and all the other DTM drivers. It's really nice to see the young kids going, and we had, even on Zandvoort, we had some time with the kids and going on the long track.
Yes,
and it's just lovely with all the people around. There are a lot of good fans in Holland, so it's so nice to be here.
Max Verstappen, of course, raced in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and indeed is a huge DTM fan. He was here last year, I recall, and you know, what it does to a country when you have a superstar like that, it makes such a difference. And it must make such a difference in terms of motorsport for the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think with the kids, we don't have soccer anymore, so everybody goes for racing. It's good for us for the karting track. I think we have quite a lot of kids. We got like 70 kids only in the karting school. And so there's a lot of kids who want to be a race car driver. And that's only nice for the Netherlands, of course, and for Zandvoort, of course, as well.
Well, long may that continue. Okay, so here I was explaining as we looked at the grid just momentarily, it's one of these curious grids, because as you go into turn number 1, which is the Tarzan turn, you would argue that pole position should be on the inside line, and that would give you the inside going into the turn. But it's an offset grid here, so Gary Paffett will actually be starting on the outside, which gives, presumably, Pascal Wehrlein an opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. Only the Tarzan corner got some banking, so normally the outside is quite better. You can brake a bit later.
Sure.
But I think Pascal, I don't know Pascal really well, but I know he's a fiery driver, and he really wants to have that first place, so
well,
it'll be nice.
Equally, teammates with Gary Paffett as well, but Pascal did say that he felt Gary compromised his outlap.
Yeah.
There's a bit of needle there already. Gary says, no, it's all fine, but we'll see. There is your pole sitter, Gary Paffett, then the British driver that leads the Drivers' Championship. And there you can see this offset nature of the grid. A full car length behind is Pascal Wehrlein, but he does have the inside line. From an adhesion point of view, Milen, what's the difference between inside and outside in terms of grip?
Normally the outside is quite better because there's the grip line for the start as well, so you got no spinning with the wheels. I think on the inside this time maybe it's a bit better because Formula 3 already drove, so with a bit of luck for Pascal he can make a small move, and as well for the fans of course.
And there are plenty of them, thousands back in here, as you can see in the driver standings. 102 points for Gary Paffett, then it's 93 for Edo Mortara, 92 for Marco Wittmann, then it's Glock, De Resta and Lucas Auer. So BMW really chasing hard and going to have to chase hard here. This circuit, as Milen has already explained, it is difficult to overtake, and therefore you almost need to provoke a mistake from the driver ahead of you, don't you?
Yeah, really, it's pushing the back of the competitor and just wait for a mistake. And yeah, over here, this is a really fast part. This is slow to marker. And over here, if you can pass here, you make just a sensation. I think everybody really wants to see that. But it's so difficult because this turn is really, really quick and really fast. But it's so nice.
I've not had the privilege of being a passenger around Zandvoort. Hint, 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 Milen. But you're right, it's the undulating nature of this circuit. It's so sweeping and it encourages you to take so much speed through some of these bends. A lot of people say it's a real roller coaster ride, and it must be like that.
Yeah, it really is, because you go so quick, and for sure you got still opportunity because everybody take the wide line to get more speed into the corner. And if you go totally inside and you have less meters, and you can make a chance, but it's so difficult to overtake still because of the high speed.
Well, you can see the drivers making their way through that sort of sequence now. The chicane sequence almost turns 10, 11, and then they head up to turn number 12, and then it sweeps around, doesn't it, and into the Airy Lion Dyke turn where it almost feels like the car is pulling you to the outside. Is that the case? Yeah,
the last corner is really difficult because you need quite a big of guts to...
I wonder what you were going to say then, thankfully.
No, it's guts. And then just a small break and go full throttle through this corner, and yeah, you got a lot of G-force on your body, and just going on the straight. And it's as well a bit tricky because you can go offline and then it's over.
And what's really interesting is, of course, these drivers, you know, their last race was at the Norris Ring, that tight 2.3 kilometre street circuit, and then they come here to this 4.3 kilometre circuit. And you make the point, this is almost like a street circuit, albeit longer, because they're not acres and acres of tarmac runoff area. Right, we're about to get the race underway. Then the cars have done their formation lap. We just await the Jamie Green car and Edo Mortara car to pick up into their grid boxes. And once we have that, we will have the green flag from the marshal at the rear, who will tell us that the start sequence can get underway. We are almost there. 55 minutes plus 1 lap of DTM race action. We are ready to rock and roll in the sand dunes here at Zandvoort. We await 5 lights being extinguished. When the lights go out, then we will be away and racing. I wonder if there's a problem with the lighting gantry. No, because we have 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4, 5 lights when they're out. Keep your eyes on Pascal Wehrlein. Gary Paffett seems to get a reasonable start, but I think Pascal Wehrlein has got a good one as well. But has Paffett done enough to make it P1 into P1 going into turn number 1? Yes, he has. He carries that speed through the wide outside, but of course, the outside line does become the inside. Gary is safe. Pascal Wehrlein, Paul de Resta, Lucas Auer. Then further back, we can see Bruno Spengler, Philipp Eng. Little bit of sand being kicked up there. Mike Rockenfeller on the outside of Rene Rast and Jamie Green. They go 2 abreast. And through they go. Jamie Green being hung out to dry a little bit there. This sweeping section of the circuit as they head down to the back now. Gary Paffett leads from Wehrlein, from de Resta. Then it is Lucas Auer. Rene Rast on a bit of a charge. But Paffett got it all completely under control at that race start. It was absolutely crucial to nail the start, and nail it he did. So here we can see then as the first lap unfolds, the first sector of this circuit is so long. It's not until you get between turns 6 and 7 that you complete the first sector. So Robin Frijns and Timo Glock. Robin Frijns getting ahead of Marco Wittmann, as you can see, the local boy here. Of course, when you have a local crowd, Milen, you want to do well, don't you?
Yeah, you really want to. And Robin just doing a really fine job with the qualifying and already passing Wittmann, and he's already looking at luck. So I give him a really good chance. I think he feels the crowd cheering for him.
And in fairness, many drivers whom I've spoken to have said that actually a home crowd can give you a 100th or a 10th in terms of how you feel, as Pascal Wehrlein looks at the back end of Gary Paffett, not quite close enough to be able to do something. Robin Frijns on the inside of Glock. Whoa, that's a brilliant overtake. He set that up perfectly, Milen.
Yeah, it was just amazing. It was kind of surprising, but he's really want to go for the podium, as you can see. The Mercedes are really quick right now. Wehrlein is pushing Paffett as well, going into the really quick sector, as you already said. I just saw with the start that the Rockefeller tried as well on the outside, and it worked out as well. So it's quite a sensational start of the race.
Robin, his overtake came from a long way back down that start-finish straight, didn't it? I wonder if that caught Timo by surprise, because he was just like a slingshot, wasn't he, up the inside?
It almost looked like the Glock didn't see it.
Well, brilliant to see. And now Robin Frijns has got Lucas Auer well within his target sights. We've got a yellow flag in turn number 1. Wonder who that is. And of course, bear in mind that we have a mandatory pit stop in the race to come as well, which is when strategy starts to play a part. It's up to the drivers when they choose to take that pit stop, but Loic Duval, Jamie Green and Edo Mortara have chosen to pit very, very early on. I'm guessing, Milen, if you're at the back of the pack, you've got to roll the dice and almost try anything.
Yeah, the strategy is really important in DTM. I think the first lap they go in, and then they keep it up till the end, and I think that's really difficult. You really need to manage your tires, but these drivers know what they are doing. And we can see Green, Mortara and Duval did already their pit stop.
Yes.
And I think they made a really good choice, because Duval did it last year as well. And yeah, he still is the record holder.
Yeah, absolutely. He was certainly quick. Look at this. Frijns means business here, doesn't he? At the moment, he's all over the back of the Lucas Auer car. Lucas Auer is currently running in P4. Then it's Robin Frijns. And then we can see in is Daniel Juncadella, the Spanish driver. Of course, bear in mind, these tyres, when he's released from the garage, they will be cold tyres. And Milen, everyone says to me, all the drivers that I talk to is, Dave, you can't believe it. When those tyres are cold, it's like driving on ice.
It really is. Like the first corner, you saw it already in Norsing, the last round, that they go totally straight. And you really need like 1 or 2 laps to warm up the tires, and this is the most difficult part about DTM. Normally it's always heated up, and this time it isn't. And these drivers really show their qualities and how good drivers they are.
Well, they are professionals at the very, very top of their game, as you quite rightly say. And Gary Paffett is right at the front of the pack, and at the moment he's whilst he's being threatened by Pascal Wehrlein not able to find a way through. Looking even more threatening here is Robin Frijns after that P4 place that is held by Lucas Auer. Lucas Auer, in fairness, is doing a great job for Mercedes-Benz here, isn't he? Because what he's doing is he's like a cork in a bottle, and this is who was off, and I think that is Loic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Duval. It's Loic Duval. Such a shame. Such a good driver.
But that was almost like a carbon copy of what Matthias Ekstrom did once. Once you're on cold tyres and you go into a turn hoping that the grip is going to be there, and it isn't. Yeah,
and this is a good example from the cold tyres.
Yeah.
You can just go straight, and I see a fight with Frijns, and Frijns is doing a really good hard job on Auer. And what you already said, Auer is just keeping it up and trying to hold him, because Frijns is really on pace right now.
He is. He's like Lucas. He's like this cork in a bottle, isn't he? Everyone is stacked up behind him. Marco Wittmann then is in for his mandatory stop. 6 seconds, and Marco Wittmann is released then. Two-time DTM champion out of the pit lane then, and back out onto the track on cold tyres. So Paffett still with Wehrlein behind him, and nothing doing at the moment. Pascal is not able to find a way past, and Paul di Resta, I often think being in P3, Milen, is sometimes the better place to be, because you can allow the two ahead of you to take up the fight, and then just be prepared to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, it's really strategy. I think Paffett is really pushing right now, and for sure Wehrlein is pushing. You can see it totally on the back of Paffett, and I think di Resta is just looking around and thinking about his strategy as well with the pit stop, and yeah, of course, trying to win.
Yeah. it doesn't matter whether you're for the same brand or not. You just want to win, don't you? You know, you're a racing driver. Sure. Robin Frijns, though, is the one that is absolutely pushing it. Lucas Auer doing a great job for Mercedes-Benz. He's almost acting like a wingman and making sure that De Resta, Wehrlein and Paffett, who you see now, are being completely protected from the rest of the pack because Lucas Auer is just holding them all back, as it were. So we are in the very early stages of this race. Now, of course, DRS zones are available, and DRS, of course, will not be available to Gary Paffett, whereas Pascal Wehrlein will be able to use it, and so too will Paul De Resta. In comes Timo Glock, in comes Bruno Spengler. But of all the tracks that we go to, Milen, Zandvoort, in my opinion, is one of those tracks where DRS actually doesn't necessarily make sense.
The white line, remember the white line at the pit exit?
The white line difficult. In the straight it looks really long, but it isn't.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't feel like it, and with the DRS, it's still the Tarzan. Everybody brakes almost on the same spot, and if you go on the inside, you got the sand of the dunes,
yes,
like the desert, and then it's quite difficult to brake that late. So Frijns did an amazing job with the overtake.
Yes,
it's really difficult to go in the inside with the Tarzan.
So Wittmann, you just saw weaving from side to side. He'd already done one lap, but he's on another now as Bruno Spengler is 3 abreast, and Daniel Juncadella on the outside. They're nearly getting hung out on the grass. Marco Wittmann was weaving from side to side to try and generate some temperature into his tyres. He's right on the back of Timo Glock now. Of course, Glock is just returning from his pit stop, so he will be vulnerable to Marco Wittmann now, who's had one lap additional, hasn't he, on those tyres? And you reckon a lap, maybe 2 laps to bring them right up to temperature?
As you can see, they are still warming up the tires for 2 laps. Even with this heat, it's so difficult to get really good temperature in the tires and get the tire work. And you see that Wittmann is already only 1 lap. He can go way quicker than Glock. But I think Glock is keeping him in the back,
yes,
just to push a bit more because he knows on the end he's faster.
Well, this could be critical because Robin Frijns has come in now for his mandatory pit stop. So, will this play into the hands of Robin? Audi team need to do a good job here in terms of getting Robin out. So, also in is Augusto Farfus, so the clock ticks down on Robin. It's not the quickest time we've seen, but it's not the slowest either. 7.7 seconds. Here comes Robin Frijns then back out, but he will be out on cold tyres, bear in mind. So he too will have to aggressively weave to try and generate some temperature into those tyres. And almost half the pack have been in for their mandatory pit stop now, as early as lap 1 through to we're on lap 6 now. We're on board with Marco Wittmann, who is behind Timo Glock. Augusto Farfus, again, should be prey to these because he will be on cold tyres. So sure enough, Glock comes through. Marco Wittmann comes through as well. And Jamie Green was just trying to put himself into the gap as well, but the gap that he was going for all of a sudden became full of the Castrol Edge BMW of Augusto Farfus as he closed the door firmly shut. A replay of the start. Well, everyone got away reasonably well.
Only Frijns was not in a good start, as you can see. Maybe some nervous because of all the fans, you never know. Yeah, it's a really nice start. As you can see, Rockenfeller is going to the inside, and a lot of drivers are going to the outside just for the grip and getting a bit more pace. You can see Frijns is just, because he's on the outside, he just overtakes everyone. Even with a not really a good start, he picks them up and trying to compete again for the top 5.
He really made up what was a lousy start into getting those places back through that turn, through having big guts, as you say, and just being prepared. Because once you're committed to that outside line, Milen, you've got to stick with it.
Yeah, really. It's with the banking, it's quite nice, and for sure with the grip level right now, it's really good with the heat and not too much wind. I think they can make really good times as well, as we can see already in the qualifying. It was really good, and they were quick, and almost did go wrong with the pit.
Oh.
And everybody is moving on the outside. And
Daniel Juncadella just got the back end there, didn't he? And Edo Mortara has come through on him. Because once you do lose the back end of the car, or you put just one wheel onto the grass, you're losing tenths of seconds, aren't you? You're losing time.
And really on this spot as well, with the quick corners, this should be full throttle, but with a little bit of older tires or cold tires, it's really difficult to be this committed as these drivers. It's just really nice to see and how exciting this race can be on Zandvoort.
Well, this was the 3 abreast moment, and unfortunately the room ran out there, didn't it? And a big save, to be fair. Got more sideways than I thought. Had to pile on that opposite lock and just control that. Meantime, at the front of the pack, Gary Paffett continuing to lead from Pascal Wehrlein. There's been no more than 3/10 between either of them in the entire 8 laps so far. So Paffett at the moment doing a good job with Pascal Wehrlein there. We're bringing you commentary of the first race of 2 for DTM here at Zandvoort. Alongside me is GT4 racing star Milen, a local driver who knows this circuit really, really well and knows the challenges it poses to each and every one of the DTM drivers that are out there, but making the best show of it in qualifying and in the race so far. Gary Paffett and Pascal Wehrlein as Nico Muller rejoins, having been in for his mandatory pit stop. Of all the drivers, we've only got 6 now that have not stopped, and naturally they are the top 6: Paffett, Wehrlein, Auer, Rockefeller, Rast and Joel Eriksson.
It's just really nice to see that Muller had a better strategy for now, and you saw him in front of Frijns. So you see in DTM it's really important to have a really good strategy just to win the race, and even to be in top 5 and gain position, and even on Zandvoort with the difficulty of passing, as you can see already with this replay. It's so difficult to pass. The green touches a bit of Farfus. Yeah, that's a racing incident. He tried it, and it's really difficult.
The difference is, as you say, that becomes a racing incident because Jamie realised that it wasn't going to work. He let go, and therefore Augusto was able to continue.
Yeah, it was a small touch, small kiss we call it.
A driver like me, I'd have kept my foot in, and he'd have ended up pirouetting, and that would have been all over. Right, now this could be critical because in comes Pascal Wehrlein. Now bear in mind, Pascal Wehrlein was in P2, so he comes in for his mandatory stop. The HWA team go to work on the car. This is not a quick one. One wheel got stuck on there. That's just what Wehrlein did not need. 12 seconds if he was hoping to undercut Paffett. That's just been completely ruined, hasn't it?
Yeah, this pit stop was not really the best of Mercedes. Yeah, for Paffett it's really good because the 3/10s are now, I think, 3 seconds almost. This is a big loss for Wehrlein.
And of course, the Wehrlein is going to lose out to De Resta now, isn't he? Because De Resta has got past him, so that... Whilst it was a good strategy, it just didn't work, Milen.
Yeah, the rest I just did undercut, and I think it will work this time.
Okay, so that should mean that Gary Paffett's position, once pit stops have been adjusted and everybody has been in and done, it should mean he's safe. We're on board with Gary Paffett now, who is the race leader. He takes the curb. This splitter cam on the front of the car shows us the bank nature of some of the parts of this circuit as he gives it absolutely full throttle now, running up to this right-hander. And in he goes to the second from last turn. Gary Paffett then, the British star who's leading the drivers' points, of course, at the moment. And he's not going to come in this time. Or is he? Yes, he is. I'm wrong.
All in the last minute, all the time, just to get the speed going and don't lose too much time, of course.
Do you know what, Milen? His position around that last turn, I'd have said he's never coming in, but... Right, now the HWA team now need to work really hard on this because a mistake like they had with the Pascal Wehrlein car would cost him dearly, wouldn't it?
Yeah, this is good. For now, yeah. It was a good pit stop. It's not the best one, but it's really quick. It's quick enough. You got a really big gap, as you can see. Almost no one is there. And there is De Resta, I think, or Rockefeller.
No, this is going to be De Resta, isn't it?
De Resta.
Now, De Resta is going to be on tyres that are now much, much warmer. I mean, he did stop fairly recently, but his tyres will be up to temperature because it was 3 laps ago.
Yeah.
So, Gary is going to have to use all his experience to make that Mercedes of his as wide as possible, isn't he?
Yeah, just driving on ice for 3 laps and then go for the win, and the rest should be pushing. And as you can see, already closing the gap only in sector 1, and it's only 3 turns.
Yes.
It's incredible. You can see the difference of cold and warm tires.
Yes, I guess that it's something that, we don't appreciate, that when you go out there, it's like, as I said at the beginning of the program, like driving on ice, and you can see the deficit that has been reduced by Paul De Resta as he chases down that car of Gary Paffett's. But the longer, every centimetre of tarmac that Gary Paffett passes, he's generating a bit more temperature into the tyre, isn't he? And it's all very well, Milen, and we often say this, you can be as quick and or quicker as the car in front. Still got to find a way past it.
Yeah, the passing is still difficult around here, and I think Paffett is kind of relaxed as you see him driving without pushing Wehrlein behind him, and now it's Di Resta, and Di Resta only got like 2 or 3 laps, and then afterwards I think Paffett will be quicker because he got newer tires and the heat is in there. And as we can see, the Audis working together or fighting together almost. It's getting quite close. It's Rene Rast and Mikey Rockenfeller. Over here are we think for now it's not the winners, but it's P5 and P6.
Yes, you're right.
And Di Resta.
So there is Gary Paffett then, who has seen off the challenge from Paul Di Resta. Now I feel sure. So those that are left to stop are Lucas Auer, Rene Rast, Mike Rockenfeller and Joel Eriksson. So Paffett now effectively leading the race from Paul Di Resta and Pascal Wehrlein, and Nico Muller, who, as you called, did a very, very good job, didn't he, of getting effectively the undercut on Robin Frijns.
Yeah, it was a really good strategy for now, and the pit stop of Frijns was not the best.
No.
For this time, and it was quite close from those positions, and Glock didn't have a really good pit stop as well. I think Frijns needs to push a bit more for the local people as a local hero, and I know he can do it. He's a really good driver, and he just knows what he's doing.
He's also a really nice guy.
Yeah, he really is.
Right. So Paffett then, 7/10 between Gary Paffett and Paul Di Resta, which, I mean, I could never say to you, Milen, what's a comfortable margin between P1 and P2? Is it 7/10? Is it 1.7? Is it 4? You can never have enough, probably,
no,
can you not?
You always want to have the whole straight.
You will fight for position.
Don't want to see anything in the mirrors, and Paffett is doing a really good job with 7/10s. Normally that gives you a little bit of air to go away.
Yes.
And here we see the pit stop of the Team Phoenix of Mikey Rockenfeller is doing normally the best pit stops of all the teams, and they do it again.
I think you're right.
5.8. It's really quick. They always win this category, being quick in the pit. And you can see Timo Glock on the outside. You can see how much more grip there is.
Yes.
And you can pass on the outside. Normally this is not allowed. I never tell my drivers of the karting track to go on the outside. I always go to the inside. That's the only choice. But the DTM drivers show that it's possible.
Right, Robin Frijns, he's turning the wick up now on his Audi brand mate Nico Muller, I think. Robin Frijns is closer to him than he has been for a little while, so Nico Muller is going to be coming under some pressure here now from the local boy Robin Frijns. They're both, I mean, their lap times are within 100ths of each other. They're both in the 1:32.4, so we'll keep an eye on how that unfolds, but Robin, being the local boy with thousands of supporters here, is going to want to get ahead of the Nico Muller car. Let's see if he's able to do that. Gary Paffett continues to lead, undaunted by Paul Di Resta behind him. And the 3 cars that are yet to stop are Lucas Auer, Rene Rast, and Joel Eriksson was one of those, but he's just come into the pit lane
Remember
now.
your brake water
so
after 10
once
laps.
all are done and dusted and all the pit stops have been done, the remainder of the race will be as normal, as it were, and the race order will resume. So, Joel Eriksson, rookie into the DTM this year, as the team go to work on his BMW. That wasn't shabby either.
It's not like the Team Phoenix team. It was really quick this time, but it was quite good, and I think Joel Eriksson is doing a really good job as a rookie in the DTM. Only in the experience with the F3, and did a really good job for sure last year as well. And just in DTM, and now he needs to keep it cool, like a real Scandinavian, just keep it cool, and then just drive and warm up the tires. You already saw Paffett going quicker and quicker every lap, just because the heat is in the tires right now. It's just really nice to see, but I saw Wehrlein pushing as well, because he knew that the pit stop was not the best, and that can still be interesting for P2. And Frijns is as well pushing at Muller, and it's a really nice race. You see a lot of action, and you see that the drivers are really pushing to the edge.
The thing is, with DTM, unlike perhaps some other racing series, what we want to see as race fans is we want to see great racing. We want to see close fights, because ultimately, Milan, we want to be entertained, and they're doing a great job of entertaining as well. And here comes Lucas Auer then in, so that means that the only remaining driver that hasn't been in is Rene Rast. So the young Austrian comes in then in the number 22 car, Lucas Auer. The team go to work, replacing those tyres with the Hankook slicks, and a 7.2 second stop from Lucas Auer. Again, nothing like the Team Phoenix. And here comes our race leader, Gary Paffett. Then it is De Resta and Pascal Wehrlein, and here comes Lucas Auer, who'll slot himself in ahead of Nico Muller. Now, this could be a great opportunity for Robin Frijns.
Yeah, it can be. He needs to overtake Muller and Auer, and as we already said, Zandvoort is really difficult, but Auer is doing a really good job, but it has cold tires right now. As you can see, Muller is already looking on the outside because there's banking as well. And then we go in a really quick part, and this is really nice to see. They go with 3 people, 3 cars, and it's really nice. And they go full gas over here. So, and Frijns is trying to look on the outside. What I already said, this can be really nice.
But this is where I thought Robin Frijns may have a real opportunity, because if Nico Muller was wrong-footed there and Lucas blocked the door, Robin could have steamed in and taken 2 at once. But sadly, that opportunity never presented itself.
No, unfortunately not. You never know.
Not gifted that often, is it?
No. The drivers need to keep the position. As you can see, Lucas Auer is just defending his position as usual, and I think it's really smart from Lucas.
Do you know what? Being a great racing driver is being a great attacker and being able to overtake. But also half the talent that you have is to be able to make that car as wide as possible to prevent anyone coming past, isn't it?
Sometimes you can win just by defending, so you never know.
Exactly. So Lucas Auer then, and Robin Frijns will be furious that he can see Nico Muller now escaping up the road because he's managed to get past Lucas Auer and Robin hasn't. So Robin is going to daredevil move perhaps through Tarzan turn number 1 now, but of course Lucas Auer has got his tyres up to temperature. Here come Frijns. Oh, and Lucas was aware of the fact that he was going to try and slingshot down the inside. So Robin's going to try and hang it out around the outside, which would give him the inside for the next turn. If this works, it will be a brilliant overtake from Robin Frijns. Oh, there was a little touch, Milen, and that did it for him.
It's a really nice fight to see, just to see Lucas Auer defending, but Frijns just trying to look for a gap, and just on the outside, just what I said, sometimes you have to grip and then you are just quicker, but as you can see, if you defend, you can win as well the position or keep the position. It's just really nice fighting of these 2 guys.
That was so unfortunate. Had it not been for that little touch, it might have worked.
Yeah, it might have worked. It's always the small things.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Well, Gary Paffett is leading the race from Paul De Resta and Pascal Wehrlein, but I'm sorry, we're sticking with this, or we were sticking with that battle because it was so good. This is the only man that has not been in for his mandatory pit stop yet. The current DTM champion, Rene Rast. Is it going to be this time? No, he stays out there. The tyres, well, Rast's lap time, I mean, the tyres are not degrading in any way that would make a difference to the lap time. He's just having a great time out there at the moment. Of course, he is leading the race, but please bear in mind, it is only nominal because he hasn't taken his mandatory pit stop yet. But he's certainly not slow. 1:33, 1:49, Rast's last time around. I'm just going to look at where our race leader is, a 1:33.587. So, of course, he's got clear track, hasn't he?
He's doing a really good job and just keeping the pace and being faster than Paffett, as we see here a move.
Around the outside of Mike Rockefeller. And
he wants to defend, but Auer did a better job than Rockefeller, as I saw. He just lost the place.
This was Jamie Green, who perhaps with not quite enough tarmac, goes on to a little bit of the grass and then a little bit of a side sweep. And here is Robin Frijns.
He's losing a bit of the rear, as you can see. I think it's a bit of dust, and that makes it quite difficult. Maybe over here already on the curb, there's some dirt on the tires, and then it's more difficult.
You know Robin really well. Will he be getting really frustrated?
He probably does. He doesn't look like it. He's always like relaxed and everything. Yeah. So, but he's probably kind of frustrated, and he's for sure trying to be quicker. And Rast is doing a really good job, just 4 times quicker than the second one.
Extraordinary.
And Paffett is on newer tires. I think he's using the strategy just keeping till the end and then do a really late pit stop. This is what Audi is doing sometimes with Ekstrom last year quite often.
Well, because this strategy could work, couldn't it? Because Rast now is doing like quali laps, isn't he? He's out there as quick as he can. He's the only driver in the 32s at the moment. If he can maintain this, because actually, from a mandatory pit stop point of view, you can take it really, really late in the race. There's nothing to say that you can't do that. This could play into Audi's hands, couldn't it? Or at least give them some opportunity.
It's quite difficult to say all the time, but I think this time they show that Rast is just really pushing and really doing qualifying laps, and he's just 5/10 quicker than Paffett. And I think Paffett is right now one of the quickest on track with Wehrlein. Wehrlein is pushing as well, what I already said. I think he really wants that P2 or P1, of course.
Yes.
He's doing a really good job this season, and he's an old former champion, so
yes,
he wants to show that he's still quick.
Yes. He's another one of these drivers that can be, quietly aggressive. In fact, one of my colleagues that commentates on occasions with me, the BMW junior, Ricky Collard, refers to him sometimes as the silent assassin. Yeah. He just quietly goes about it, but you just know the aggression is there. But you can see Paffett is just managing the gap absolutely perfectly to De Resta, isn't he? Some 9/10, nearly a second. So, De Resta needs to be within a second to have that DRS. But as we mentioned earlier on in the program, I'm not convinced that here at Zandvoort, the DRS really makes that much difference.
Me too. I think it's not really a big difference only when you're really close, and then it's like 2 or 3 tenths. Then you have like that small thing just to make the go into the gap and just make the move. But this is a big difference. I think Wehrlein is getting really close right now, and he's 4 tenths quicker than his colleagues and competitors. So he's doing a really good job, and I think he's really pushing for it right now.
You actually cannot see this on screen, but promise you there will be steam coming out of Pascal Wehrlein's crash helmet for the pit stop, which did not go terribly well for him, and he will be immensely frustrated and pushing as hard as he can. And you can see that because the gap between himself and Paul De Resta is narrowing. There is no question about that. Reminder, you're watching race 1 of 2 across this weekend here at Zandvoort. It is a DTM, an absolutely blistering race with lots of action going on. Alongside us is top GT4 racing driver Milen with the benefit of his intimate knowledge of the Netherlands and the Zandvoort circuit alongside us. And at the moment, I have to say, Robin Frijns he's slipped behind Lucas Auer a bit. Lucas Auer has, got that all together now, hasn't he? And
maybe Robin just pushed a bit too much with the newer tires, and that gonna not really help you until the end. And Muller is doing a really good job.
He is.
He's closing in a bit even.
You're right, actually. The gap now between Wehrlein and Nico Muller is coming down. How does it affect you, Milen, here at Zandvoort in particular, when you run in the dirty air behind these cars? I mean, it really affects the handling of the car?
Yeah, of course, DTM is working with aerodynamics.
Sure.
And this makes it quite difficult to pass as well with the DTM. When I was driving TT Cup, it's a bit less, of course. Then you're only happy to be behind someone, to have a bit more power.
Yes.
And now with the DTM, that's why I think René is really quick. When you really are close to each other, it's really difficult to steer with the aerodynamics, and you steer a bit more because you got some understeer. And this is what makes the strategy as well really important. I think that's why Paffett can manage to do the last 3 laps really quick.
This is a great onboard shot of Rene Rast. Now, you may be looking, and you can watch him at the steering wheel there, really pushing that car. Towards his right-hand side, there's this little wheel which we see drivers adjusting as they're preparing now for the Rene Rast pit stop. We've got a yellow flag in turns 2 and 3. It's Nico Muller. He's done such a good job. Now, where that is positioned, that really could be a safety car.
And that's why I think Rene Rast is coming in, just to prevent and be more in front.
That's quite an impact as well.
I think he been on the dirt a bit and going just straight. And there's the safety car.
Yeah, there was no way it couldn't be deployed, particularly where that car was on the end of that turn. Oh my goodness, what this means, Milen, is if the excitement factor was at 9, we're going to go to 11 now, aren't we, really? After this
and
safety car.
Rene Rast is going in right now. He's not going in. This is quite strange. Normally,
that amazes me.
Yeah, and they were prepared, and I don't know why. Normally, when there's a safety car, you go in just to win some time. So now Nico Muller is going out. Well, we'll see the replay, hopefully.
The most important thing is Nico is out of the car and he's okay.
And he's just fine.
Yeah,
just disappointed.
His ego will be a bit dented, but he's okay. And this is look up here on how this happened. Locked up.
Yeah, it just locked up and going in straight, and almost looked like he just touched the outside curb a bit. And that's quite dangerous over there.
At that point, presumably, Milen, you are just a passenger.
Yeah, you don't have any choice. Just get still in. But
this reinforces the reason we love having you alongside us, is because you know this circuit so well, and you said right at the start of the program, Dave, there's no, when this track bites you, it bites you on the bottom and it bites really hard.
Yeah, you can see the dust as well, and the wind, and then it's the desert again.
Yes.
Yeah, luckily there's nothing wrong with him, and
no.
And this is quite strange that Rene Rast didn't come in, because he really could have won quite a lot of time.
There's no rules to prevent him coming in, is there?
No, it didn't. So, and they look prepared. So
absolutely, we saw them.
So it's quite strange, but maybe it's again a strategy. You never know. There are quite a lot of people around who decides that, as you can see over here.
Yes, as you look on the Team Phoenix pit wall there, and there, I mean, the team, they were actually in the pit box, weren't they? They weren't in the garage. They were in the pit box, prepared and ready for it. As you say, the teams have people that work on the strategies for the races, and they, for whatever reason, will have decided, no, let's not do it now. And then safety car called for. Nico Muller's car is going to have to be recovered before we can go back to race action. So safety car is out with 23.5 minutes plus 1 lap. How dare you yawn, sir? When we had such a race, how dare you?
So exciting.
And trust me, it's the excitement pitch is going to be cranked up yet further. I was saying, just before we went to that safety car, there was a dial in the middle of the cockpit, right alongside Rene Rast. It's the same for every single driver. And I've explained, but it would be better coming from you as a top racing driver. That's brake bias, which means you adjust the percentage of brake power from rear to front or front to rear. And I presume you changed that during the course of the race, Milen?
Normally, I don't have this choice, unfortunately.
Sorry, mate.
But the DTM drivers can, and in karting you have this as well. In the shifter class, you can say, okay, I want to have 80% more in front. It depends on the driver, I think.
Yes.
As me, when I was a karting driver, I always loved to be a bit more in front, like almost 75% in front, because then you can brake later and get the front more weight and get more grip in the front. And
does that make the back end a bit looser?
Yeah, you get a bit more of oversteer, so you need to work with that. But as we can see, Duval is coming in.
Duval is in.
So we don't know why, but the drivers can choose for the braking. And with DTM, they change quite a lot of times the brakes, just to manage the tires as well. Because if you only are in front, you will get worse rear tires and not the front tires, and you need to work with the tires. And as you can see, it's really important to manage the tires, because Duval did a pit stop just for new tires, it looks like.
This is not truck racing. You are here at the DTM race with the, I have to say, he's carrying a fair amount of speed at Tarzan turn. This could all go horribly wrong.
Luckily, there's no car on it.
I saw a recovery vehicle once. Actually, it was a fire truck once fall over at Brands Hatch, which is where we're heading with the DTM next race. But that truck is on its way to recover this Nico Muller car. I was just trying to understand why Loic Duval would be in again, because he had done his mandatory stop, hadn't he?
Yeah. So maybe it can be a strategy for tomorrow. They're thinking, okay, we're done making the points and just save tires for tomorrow. But it's quite strange for me. I can't really explain it. It's again the strategy of the team, and they probably thought about it, or he had some trouble with maybe a flat tire or anything like a small puncture. This is always possible on Zandvoort, as you can see the dirt on the not on the ideal line. And this is what happened with Muller.
Yeah,
he just went a bit on the outside,
wasn't it?
Too much brake and into the wall.
He'd been doing such a good job, he really had. But there you can see Nico Muller pays the really rather heavy price of some of the sand that can be blown onto the circuit here at Zandvoort. And we now have the recovery truck. And here we can see from a different angle, you can see the wind from the flag there, and just how great the wind is.
You can see some sand as well.
Yes.
And there's the desert again. And you see that the fans need to hold up the ears just to don't get too much loud into the ears, because they make a lot of noise.
These cars
it's
sound
amazing.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And some super creative shots from our TV crew as we saw the Joel Eriksson car there, and one of the DTM fans, and Paul de Resta here. You can see these marbles, these rubber marbles that come off the tyres as the race progresses and sort of get drifted out to the outside of the circuit. And they really are like marbles when you're on them, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. When you're on the outside after the DTM, normally with the TT Cup we were run sometimes after the DTM, and when you're on the outside you're just losing almost the car. It's so difficult to drive, and it takes like 1 or 2 laps to get the tires totally clean again.
Yeah.
So, and now Muller is running back to his team and probably explain what happened and explain what is broken, just to prepare the team.
Athlete that he is, he sprints across the track, and I have to say, Milen, I feel for Nico a bit in this, because it was just really, really unfortunate, and
yeah, he did a really good job. He just good strategy, and he was really quick and just make good times, and he made a great move on Auer as well. He showed some sensation for this race.
Well, the shape of this race now is going to be potentially changed somewhat as we see a replay of Nico going in there, and once you're sliding, that's it, isn't it? You've got there's no room to make a...
Yeah, there's no room. This is like the street circuit. You only have like 5 or 6 meters, and it's automatically that the person is going to brake a bit more, and then it's just locking up. And you see it with F1 drivers as well. It's just human that you're braking a bit more, and the lockup just lets you go straight. And there is the running man. I can run really well as well. Huh?
Okay, well, he's back in the pit lane now, and it will be bitter disappointment for Nico Muller. And what I was saying just before we went to the replays of his crash is that the whole shape of this race could be changed significantly now.
Yeah, now it's really important with the new tires and the strategy of the teams. As you can see, I think Paffett has a bit of less laps on the tires, so for him it's really well. And it's still strange that Rene Rast didn't come in. They really are going to for the last lap, I think. And this will be really difficult for René to hold the first 3 Mercedes-Benz.
Just looking at the message screen that we get from race control, Nico Muller, one of the most curious incidents that I've seen on the message screen is that Nico Muller might be investigated for running across the track. Because actually the track is closed. We've still got a race on. We are behind the safety car, but we are racing, Milen.
Yeah, this is for sure a rule, but it was safe in my point of view. But I think the organization make this point, and if it's a rule, it's a rule. It's DTM, and you should listen to the rules. Of course, that is always important.
Well, he's going to be reported to the stewards of the meeting for so doing. So we hope that will be the end of it. But I just thought I would bring you that as we look at some of the spectators and then go back to Rene Rast, who is the leading car. He is leading the race, but he hasn't taken his pit stop yet. So he's behind the safety car. And Rast leads from Paffett to Rest of Wehrlein. But Rast has got to come in to take his mandatory pit stop. Now, from an Audi strategy point of view, Milen, Robin Frijns, P6.
What is happening?
Rast could do Robin a big favour here, couldn't he?
I think that this is the strategy of Audi. Of course, the brand is always working together.
Of course.
Only in front, it's always team. But now I think Rast is holding up the 4 Mercedes who are in the back of him. This will be a really hard job, but Auer did it as well, and he did a great job. And I think Rene Rast knows what he's doing as a former champion, and hopefully Frijns can make the move like he did on Glock. That was such a nice move.
Yes, it was. Let's see if he's going to be able to do that. Well, safety car is still out there, and it looks like it'll be out there for another couple of laps because the stricken Nico Muller car has been put back onto the, or not put back, but put onto the low loader, but the recovery operation is certainly not done and dusted yet. So I reckon we've got the remainder of this lap, probably plus one more before the safety car will be brought in. We will see. Often my predictions are wholly inaccurate, but we will see, and if that is the case, we will be down to probably at that point 14, maybe 13 minutes plus one lap of race action to come. So it will be a flying fight to the finish, that's for sure.
And we really need to look for Auer. He made his latest pit stop from the Mercedes, so his tires are.
So he's the one with his tires going to be in the best condition.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Ericsson as well can do a really good job as. He's still young and a rookie, and that's why he got a bit more fire in it. And sometimes trying, and it's like Max Verstappen in F1 is he's just trying and he just wants to show his pace, and that's really nice for the DTM to have some rookies in the championship.
You're absolutely right. So lights are still on here on the safety car, and as I say, I think we'll probably reach the conclusion of this lap.
Yeah.
Let's cross down now to the guy I feel really sorry for, Nico Muller. He's with Verena.
Nico, what exactly happened? Did you have a lockup or what happened?
I had a puncture front left, and I recognized it already before on start-finish. But obviously, you want to try and finish the lap and come back to the pits at least and fit another tire. But it was too late. The tire completely collapsed on the way to turn 2, and then when I turned in, there was nothing at all, even though I braked early. Yeah, pity. Lots of work for the team and lots of frustration.
Very unfortunate. You then crossed the racetrack by foot. Did you realize that perhaps it's not safe? Because I heard you're under investigation because of that?
I talked to the marshals about it and they told me to go. So I think there's not much else I can do.
All right, thank you so much, Nico Muller. And back to you.
Thanks very much. And fair play, Nico. He asked the marshals permission first, and they said, yes, OK, go. That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, if the marshal's saying, OK, you can cross the track, it's allowed.
And also, the fact that he had a puncture, you know, it wasn't a mistake in any way of his at all.
It looked like just lockup, but when you got a puncture, it's quite difficult to keep it on track. So really good job by Muller just to be driving as well, because he already knew it the lap before. And he just did a really stunning job.
Safety car is going to come in this lap. So at the end of this lap, the safety car is coming in, and that means the gloves will be off, and we're going to have about 12 minutes plus 1 lap of racing to come. Rene Rast leading, but Rene Rast has got to come in to take his mandatory pit stop. And then it's the boss of Mercedes-Benz, Uli Fritz.
Yeah, it really looks like Rene Rast. He doesn't like him right now.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So Uli Fritz, then the Mercedes-Benz team principal, looks on. So now with the safety car coming in, Rene Rast controls the pace of the restart, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He can back them all up. He can choose when to go and when not to go. What he can't do, I'll tell you what, he came close then, because Gary Paffett is really trying. Oh no, of course it's a safety car restart in DTM, which makes it even more excitement. They're side by side, aren't they?
This is really nice to see. This is a really nice opportunity for every driver, and not with only safety car just for the fans, but this is just, again, a start, and this is just really nice to see.
Oh, this is going to be critical. So they do control the pace, but the side-by-side nature of this perhaps plays into the hands of Robin Frijns. Maybe it's up to Rene Rast when they decide to go for it. He goes for it now. Gary Paffett on the outside. Keep your eyes on Robin Frijns. He's on the third row of the grid. Can he get past Lucas Auer around the outside? The two Mercedes of Pascal Wehrlein and Paul de Resta break ahead of him. Robin Frijns is on the outside. It would become the inside, but no. Lucas Auer, in fact, is getting past the Pascal Wehrlein car ahead of him. So it's Rast, and then it is Gary Paffett, then Paul de Resta, then it is Lucas Auer. He was the big beneficiary there.
He just did a really good job going on the inside, and just when he had the grip, he just go on full throttle and had the traction. And Robin tried to go on the outside again, but it didn't work out this time.
No, you've got to give him credit for trying. And now trying to come back at Lucas Auer is Pascal Wehrlein. So Rast, Paffett, de Resta, Auer and Pascal Wehrlein. Please bear in mind that Rene Rast has not served his mandatory pit stop yet. He's got to come in.
This will be really interesting what he's doing. Rast is still really quick as I guess.
He is.
He's just still making a gap. It's quite strange with these old tires to go this quick. Then you can see he's really a former world champion or DTM champion.
He is, yes.
And Frijns is even warming up the tires a bit, so he maybe didn't warmed up the tires just enough. He's trying to go a bit to Wehrlein, and Wehrlein is really pushing because he didn't really have a good pit stop, and now Auer also passed him. So he will be furious. Just by driving behind Auer.
It's all gone wrong for him, really, this afternoon, relatively. So, here comes the race leader then, Rene Rast, although bear in mind he has got to come in for his mandatory pit stop. So, Gary Paffett is the real race leader, if you like. Then it's Paul de Resta, Lucas Auer, Pascal Wehrlein, Robin Frijns. And then it's Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann, the two BMW drivers that are currently running in P7 and P8. Just ahead of Augusto Farfus. So, Rast then into turn number 3, where you run downhill, and there's Wehrlein really champing at the bit of Lucas Auer ahead of him, trying to find a way to squeeze his way past the Austrian. Lucas Auer did a good job at that IndyCar restart that we had following the safety car period, which just adds to the drama and the excitement of the DTM races. It's one of the rules that I really, really thought was a brilliant idea when it was brought back in, that the
it's just a real restart. It's not really just back to back, and it's normally the safety car is not really that excited, but this is really exciting. Just a normal, just rolling start, and it's really nice. As you can see, it's happening again. It's sensation again, and as you can see, Frijns is going on the outside, and at the beginning it worked out, but
nearly
then
worked, didn't it?
Then the traction of the Auer, and he's just gone, as you can see, and then he makes even the move on his teammate, and he bumped even a bit. Just a small kiss on the side.
Oh, and Uli Fritz then looks on. Of course, for a team principal, it must be a nightmare, mustn't it, when you've got fighting within your own brand with drivers.
Yeah, with 4 drivers even. So
yes,
and there's only 3 people on the podium, so that's quite difficult.
Rene Rast then, who's proving that these Hankook tyres, the durability of them in this race has been remarkable, because every driver, as you can see, has been in for their pit stop, with the exception of Rene Rast, and he is still out there in the 32. He's not as quick as Paffett now, is he? But he's still in the 32s. We're talking about tenths, as Philippe Eng and Loic Duval are having a battle there, and Loic Duval puts himself ahead.
Yeah.
He is ahead of Philippe Eng now, so fair play, Loic Duval then, the current holder of the lap record here at Zandvoort for DTM cars. Puts himself ahead of the BMW of Loic Duval. It's Daniel Juncadella that's behind him in his Mercedes-Benz. So Robin Frijns continues to be behind Pascal Wehrlein in P6 position. There's Jamie Green and Joel Eriksson. And
now you can see Frijns is really trying to push and getting in that last 7.5 minutes, just trying to be in the top 3 as a local hero. But he's doing a really good job. A bit of luck with Nico, or bad luck for Nico.
Yes.
But he's doing a really good job. He improved himself again and picked himself up. At the half of the race, he didn't do a really good job, but now he's pushing again, and he's really on pace, as you can see.
Wehrlein just taking a look at the inside of Lucas Auer there, nothing doing. He was just showing his face there. What you're perhaps trying to do is just unsettle the driver ahead of you, but you know, Luki Auer is quite wise to that, and these drivers are at the height of their professional game, and they're not going to have their focus or their attention stripped by one little move, as Robin Frijns just took a look around the outside once again. And what he's doing, he's filling the Pascal Wehrlein rearview mirrors with the blue of his Audi, isn't he, to say, yeah, I am here, I am waiting to have you.
Yeah, normally we use in GT class, we use the lights just to show that we are there and just make the driver nervous. But these drivers have so much experience, so normally they shouldn't be that confused. But you never know. As a driver, sometimes you get some tension on the back, and you can make a mistake. And as we already saw, you only need to be on a bit on the outside, and you can make a mistake and lose quite a lot of time on Zandvoort.
Yes, just that's all it needs is a momentary lapse of concentration, and Robin Frijns, like a viper, would be through on Pascal Wehrlein. But at the moment, Wehrlein is not making any mistakes. Rene Rast showing remarkable performance here. We've got 5 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining, and he is still continuing to lap in times that are very, very similar. 1:33.7 last time around for Rene Rast, and 1:33.5 for Gary Paffett. So Paffett's marginally quicker, as Nico Muller sadly is on the pit perch now because he can no longer take part in the race. A puncture was what did for him, and that almost pitched him in. Well, it did, not almost. It pitched him into the wall, and that was the end of Nico Muller's race.
As you can see, Glock is going quicker and quicker as well. going even a bit quicker than Frijns and the same speed as Wehrlein.
Right.
Yeah, and he's trying as well. I think he's doing a really good season so far.
Oh, no question.
The old mans are really
old
quick.
mans.
The Paffett and Glock are really quick drivers, and they show really pace this season.
Yes, you're absolutely right. They've had a stellar season so far, and they've had some fantastic fights between them. Some have been controversial, some have not been controversial, but I'm sorry, the opening race at Hockenheim, or the opening weekend at Hockenheim with them two together was absolutely awesome. As past Mike Rockenfeller there goes the Philipp Eng car.
This was a really nice pass on a really difficult spot.
Yeah.
So I want to see the whole replay just to see how he did that, because that's a really good move and a really difficult part of the track. And Rast is still going really quick. It's almost incredible.
I'm beginning to doubt the transponder now.
Yeah, almost.
But Rast definitely has not been in, and he hasn't got many laps left within which to do that. So Robin Frijns, the LED indicator suggests he is P6. Actually, he will be P5 when Rast does come in eventually to remove the concrete, which is on the rims of his car, because that's how the Hankook tyres are performing. They're absolutely brilliant. The durability is remarkable, because still he stays out there. And the gap between himself and Gary Paffett is some 9/10.
And Paffett is doing a really good job.
Yes.
It's incredible. I think he's really playing it cool and just keeping the pace as he wants, and he's just really quick, as you already saw in qualifying.
Well, if Paffett can hold on to this, and I see no reason why he shouldn't, because Paul de Resta is certainly not close enough at the moment. Lucas Auer isn't. I mean, they're all gapped out a few tenths between each other, aren't they? That would be Gary's third win of the season, and it's very, very unusual to get a run of wins across any manufacturer, across any driver. So close is the DTM. So there is Lucas Auer.
It's really nice from Gary Paffett to win those races already.
Yes.
And already too. As we know, it's always difficult to win, but to win so many times in just a half of the season, it's already really nice, and it's just incredible what he's doing with this car.
And one of the other innovations, and we saw one of them with the Indy-style restart from the safety car just a few moments ago, another one of the innovations in DTM over the last couple of seasons is the fact that those points are awarded on qualifying. You know better than anybody, when it comes to the end of the season, you count up the points, and if you've got an extra 2 or 3 points from the odd qualifying session here or there where you've made it for P1 or P2, that can make the difference between you being champion and not.
Yeah, sometimes it's only 1 point you need, and with the qualifying and 3 points, it's quite a lot. Sometimes you just need it, and but Paffett is doing a really good job here all day, and Glock is not doing bad as well. He's driving really well, but he just doesn't have the pace to be there with Paffett and with the Mercedes guys. They're just outstanding this race.
Yes. So there is Loic Duval, who's beginning to pressure Edoardo Mortara ahead of him, and we can see from the rear splitter cam of Edo Mortara's car the Audi of Loic Duval, then the current lap record for DTM here, who set it last year in 2017. Loic Duval is no slow driver, that's for sure, and he's chasing down the Edo Mortara car ahead of him. It is for P13, well, what will become P12 in the race. So out of the points, but nonetheless, driver's pride is all important as well. And just taking a look at it.
He almost tried it.
He tried it, didn't he?
He looked a bit already.
Yeah.
And I think this is the strategy what the Audi did. And this is quite nice to see that you can do all kind of strategy just to be quicker and quicker. And you see that the team are really thinking about it and just want to win.
Yes.
Every position is just one.
Yes. And as you say, that is great to see, and it's great to see the whole team come together to work strategically for what is going to be best for the brand. Rene Rast surely has got to come in this time.
And he isn't.
Well, in fairness, we have got one more lap.
And we see the board with box on it. So after this lap, he probably goes in. This is quite a strange strategy. This is the first time I'm seeing it, and I think it's still really nice that he's still quicker than Paffett with these old tires. It's just incredible to see.
It is amazing. I mean, let's be truthful, Rene is an awesome, he is DTM champion.
Yeah.
He's an awesome, talented driver. I've commentated on Rene because I'm an old man on so many of the categories that he has been in, going back to the VW Polo Cup, I think.
Yeah, the front-wheel driven cars. he loves those.
Whatever you put Rene Rast into, he could drive and he could win races. He's the sort of driver that a wheelbarrow around Zandvoort, he'd still win a race with me.
He really does, and he has an amazing career because everybody at Audi thought he was not quick enough for DTM, but he really showed the pace.
He had a DTM test many years ago, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's so nice how he did it, and he showed everybody wrong how quick he was.
Yeah. That's sometimes the best motivator in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
What we can't do is take anything away from Gary Paffett equally, who has done an outstanding job and has not been threatened by either De Resta or Auer or Wehrlein, because he's just kept that margin of comfort between himself and those behind him. So it'll be win number 3 if Gary Paffett can maintain this for one more lap. In comes Rene Rast at last.
The last lap.
Last lap lunch. Gary Paffett then retakes the race lead, which is by dint his right to do so. So it will be Paffett, De Resta, Auer, then Wehrlein, and now Robin Frijns is all over the back of Pascal Wehrlein because he's got this lap and no others in which to try and elevate himself from that P5 position into P4. Paffett P1, De Resta P2, Auer P3, then it's Wehrlein, Frijns, and the hard-charging Timo Glock as well.
As we can see in the back, that Duval passed Mortara, and Spengler passed Mortara as well.
Okay.
So it happened something in the back, and Duval still makes a small chance to get in the points. But this is just an amazing fight. Frijns really needs to push if he wants to make one more move. Or Wehrlein needs to make a small mistake, you never know.
Yeah.
But Paffett did an amazing job to almost win this race. It's just a couple of corners to go. And Auer as well, good strategy. And Wehrlein is just a bit unlucky this race.
He hasn't had the rub of it, has he, this afternoon? But this man, the British driver Gary Paffett then, who already has 2 wins on his scorecard for this season, has but a couple of more turns to do before he banks win number 3 and reinforces his position right at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Because as he heads towards the checkered flag for 2018, it's win number 3 for Gary Paffett, followed by Paul De Resta P2, Lucas Auer P3, Pascal Wehrlein P4, a really spirited drive from Robin Frijns P5, also Timo Glock P6, then it's Wittmann, Farfus, Ericsson and Jamie Green, and Gary's family absolutely delighted with what he has achieved.
They're really happy, they're really cheering. He did an amazing job. And you saw Duval was quite close to Green, and Green did as well a really good job by putting it on P10, and Ericsson as well on P9. They made a really good race. They showed a really good show this afternoon.
The thousands of spectators that are here at Zandvoort are not going to be disappointed with the fare that has been on offer. It's been some brilliant racing from the DTM cars, and some brilliant strategies from the team, and all sorts of curved balls thrown into the mix to make it ever more entertaining for us. But the man on top is Gary Paffett, who takes his 3rd win of the season. And a good drive from Gary Paffett. I know you want to head off to the grid now and say congratulations. Milen, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. So, until next time.
Best of luck with the remainder of your season in GT4.
Thank you.
So Milen Doncha then, the Audi GT4 driver alongside us, really appreciated his insight, and he's off now to cheer on the podium like everybody else. Driver standings then, 127 points for Gary Paffett now against Paul De Resta on 106 and Timo Glock on 100. Wow, what a race that unfolded. And there is your race winner, Gary Paffett. 3rd win of the season. Well, the Mercedes Fest from qualifying continued with top 4 places all going the way as we see Gary Paffett take the checkered flag for the win. And that's a great shot of that checkered flag coming down, and Gary Paffett delighting. Congratulations in the team garage as well. And the cars making their way into the pit lane now and to Parc Fermé. And the happiest of them all will be the driver of this car as he puts his car behind the P1 spot in the Parc Fermé area. Gary Paffett, race winner. So De Resta out of his car. Lucas Auer, I don't think so quite yet. Undoing the belts and the hands device, and Gary's family waiting on to congratulate. And pretty happy with that. A phenomenal job. Great driving. Never really looked threatened. Well done, Dad. So the drivers will be weighed and then hustled off up to the podium. Lucas Auer. And here then, confirmation of the result. Gary Paffett taking the win from Paul De Resta, Lucas Auer and Pascal Wehrlein, the top four. Robin Frijns, P5. Then it was Timo Glock, Marco Wittmann, Augusto Farfus, Joel Eriksson and Jamie Green occupying the top 10 places. Then it was Loic Duval, Bruno Spengler, Edo Mortara, Philipp Eng, Mike Rockefeller, Daniel Juncker-Deyer, Rene Rast and of course Nico Muller. Sadly, we saw out following his puncture and being collected by the fence, which was a great shame indeed. Having done such a good job, Nico Muller didn't really collect everything that he should have collected in that race. So the top three then, Paffett, De Resta and Lucas Auer. Uli Fritz from Mercedes-Benz, I should think will be absolutely thrilled to bits with the performance that they've shown. And the brand has shown here at Zandvoort. One thing we know, whatever has happened today doesn't give us a form guide necessarily for tomorrow. In the driver's standings then, Gary Paffett on a commanding 21-point lead over Paul De Resta, who is P2. Then it's Timo Glock for BMW on 100 points. But still lots of race action to come from DTM with second race here at Zandvoort tomorrow. Then, of course, Brands Hatch, Misano, Nürburgring, Spielberg and Hockenheim. But the race winner is Gary Paffett. Well done, sir.
And a very, very happy man is here with me. Congratulations, Gary. That was just a phenomenal race. But you were just saying, when the safety car started, you were getting a tiny bit nervous, perhaps, but it was a perfect race for you.
Yeah. Up until that point, it was under control. You know, I made a good start. I was in the lead. We had an excellent pit stop. The guys have been working really hard, and the pit stop was really good. And the strategy got me out in the lead again, and it was all under control. You know, no pressure. And then the safety car comes out, which one is hard because with the Indy restart, you never know. And also with René in front of me, not having done a pit stop, it wasn't as easy as possible. But René was very fair, you know. I let him get on with it. And after that, it was under control again. And really happy. I mean, the car's been really good all day, really good. And so happy for the team to get 1, 2, 3, 4. We've had a couple of races where we've had the first 2 rows and not completed it. Today we did. So congrats to the whole team.
So perfect day for you today. Thank you so much. Enjoy the moment on the podium, Gary, and back to you.
Yeah, I think he will enjoy that moment on the podium. Third time this year on the top step. And richly deserved, as he says. He controlled it well. And a very educated and talented drive from Gary Paffett. So a great shot from the helicopter then of the cars in Parc Fermé, and this is the podium, which is about to get underway. We're not far away, just awaiting the drivers making the way up to the podium, which is not a huge distance away. And there the family look on, ready to cheer and scream loud and proud. Yeah, love it. Well done. So I think the podium is readied. Yes, sure enough. Everyone standing by then, and just the drivers to be brought out onto the podium. Here comes race winner Gary Paffett. P2 going the way of Paul di Resta. Having a good season as well. And Luki Auer then. P3. National anthem to play out then. So the national anthem plays out then for Gary Paffett, who on the top step of the podium celebrates win 3 of the season so far. Mr. Prince Bernhard von Oranje makes the trophy presentation to Gary, who leads the Drivers' Championship. Next up, it is Diana Eidberger, the Olympic silver medal winner for luge, making the trophy presentation to Mercedes-Benz and Team HWA. Before we find the trophy being presented now to Paul di Resta by Pierre Caffa, a former DTM driver here this weekend. And Lucas Auer then on the 3rd step of the podium to receive his trophy from Cor Usa, another former DTM driver here this weekend as well. So the podium festivities done and dusted, and Paffett was waiting for nobody. Brilliant. And the champagne was liberally shared. That caught us all by surprise. Didn't expect that to happen quite as quickly as it did. Normally the drivers pose for some photographs, but to heck with that, we're going to celebrate. And celebrate they did. Now we'll have some photos. We'll do it at Gary's schedule, and why not? So great stuff, and another great result for the Mercedes-Benz brand. Well, Gary, I'm hot, to be honest. And so are some of the team, as you can see, having ice cream to celebrate. So Well done to Gary Paffett taking the win, taking a fine P2 though. Another British driver, Paul di Resta.
I'm here with Paul di Resta. Congratulations, it was a really cool race. You came from 3rd to 2nd place. How happy are you with that?
Yeah, very happy. I mean, I don't think you can get much better, but it's a shame, you know, at the end that you lose points on the championship leader, which is Gary. He did a good job, solid in qualifying. When you're compromised, to fight for the position is good, but to come away 2nd in the championship now, 3rd place in DTM, consistency is key. It's at the end of the year that counts, and after tomorrow we're halfway, so we're still in this championship, and the muscles are firmly getting out and ready for the challenge.
All right, well, looking forward to tomorrow. Thank you very much, Paul. Back to you.
Heightening the gym activity then, as the muscles will be out until right at the very end at Hockenheim. Of course, when the season closes mid-October, a lot of racing to come between now and then. As Paul says, we reach the half point in the season after tomorrow's race, and the gloves will be off. So he, as he says, knows that he's lost points to Gary Paffett, but he's still very much in the hunt. And a P2 position for Paul di Resta today. Gary Paffett taking the win. Lucas Auer, of course, banking that P3 place. So the team standings after 9 of 20 races then. 184 points for the Mercedes-AMG Motorsport Petronas team, with the Stilbert-Weil AMG Motorsport team on 180, and then BMW Team RMR on 153 points, the 1, 2, 3 in the team standings. As we say, after 9 of the 20 races to come in this fantastic DTM season. All the information at dtm.com. Taking P3, the young Austrian driver of car number 22, it's Lucas Auer.
Here's a very happy man who was giving all his best, pushing really hard, coming from 4th to 3rd place. So how happy are you with the result?
I think just looking over the whole day, I was very happy actually with qualifying, because my first set was a mess, and then come back to before made my day actually. So I was very happy with that, and the podium is always something nice.
And knowing how strong you guys are, looking forward to tomorrow's race?
Yeah, sure. I think there are some detailed stuff to improve, but looking forward to tomorrow.
I'm sure you are. All right, thank you very much, Lucas Auer, and back to you.
So still some detail to improve potentially, as Lucas Auer says. So we will see if they can still heighten their, sharpen their pencil still more for tomorrow's race, as some of the fans look on from the sand dunes then here at Zandvoort, this fantastic old-school circuit that wends its way through the sand dunes here on the Netherlands coast. And they've been treated to some great DTM race action, and we expect much the same tomorrow, to be honest with you. Lots of race action on track for the fans to enjoy, including the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, single-seater stars of the future that compete in that. So there we have it then. The first race of 2 across this weekend is done and dusted, and the Mercedes Fest from qualifying continued in the result, with Gary Paffett taking the win, Paul di Resta P2, Lucas Auer P3, and Pascal Wehrlein P4. Best of the Audis was Robin Frijns, P5. The best of the BMWs was Timo Glock, who took P6. So as the spectators now can think towards the race for tomorrow, will Mercedes be as strong in the sand dunes when it comes to race 2? Well, we haven't got long to wait before we find out. So we've had a very, very enjoyable DTM race 1. Please make sure that you join us for race number 2, which promises to be just as exciting here at Zandvoort.
That really was a very, very amazing race here. A lot of action we saw, and Mercedes-Benz was so truly dominant with the first 4 places in this race. So let's see what tomorrow brings. I'm sure it's going to be just as much action. It's going to be very exciting, because BMW and Audi are going to fight back, that's for sure. So don't miss it tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you. And now here are the highlights of today's race. Enjoy and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.